Okay, hey, so I'm going to do the same presentation that we did in the morning, but this time I'll take it to the end. Till the end, you can listen again and basically not miss on the last part, or you can, rewind and listen to it again and how many times you want and whenever you want. So, but basically, some of you already heard this, but I'll still say it again. This class, we're going to look at creative tools and writing techniques that you can use to improve your writing, and some tools that can help you improve your writing and make it more interesting and exciting. So we're going to look at some practice exercises that you can do. We'll take a look at one exercise in particular, right? Object writing, the exercise that you can try to do every day, sort of get your writing muscles going. Like any other skill, writing needs practice. And from what I learned from your surveys in the first class, well, not a lot of you are into writing. Not a lot of you are into writing just outside of school, right? A lot of you wrote that the only times that you have written anything was when you had assignments and you were supposed to write for school and to get marks and pass some classes. That's how most of us, most people, operate. We write in school when we have to. However, I believe that you guys are here to become translators, and you are. It would be good if you had a slightly different relationship with text and writing, as we talked already on the last class, as you remember, regarding active reading, that you can read and learn how to write through that, but also you can practice writing and learn how to write while writing as well. And this is what we will take a look at today, the basic exercise that can help you improve your writing. And you as translators need to do that. Your task is to produce texts that are based on other texts, right? It's not like writing from scratch, but at the same time, it is still producing text. So you need to know how texts work. You need to be flexible in writing. You can't be, stiff and not comfortable with expressing yourselves on paper. You need to be the opposite of that. And this exercise is a good thing to learn at this early stage, and it can potentially improve your writing skills, get you more comfortable with writing. So yeah, object writing, it's called object writing, and here we have some basic advantages of object writing. It increases your powers of description, increases your ability to give quick examples, can help you build the confidence you need to tackle more difficult pieces of writing. We talked about it already in the morning, right? But all of these things, object writing can help you improve. Okay, so what is object writing? In a nutshell, these 3 steps describe what it is. So in object writing, you need to take an object, be it in most cases it's like a real physical thing, or it can be something abstract like a concept and so on. But the basic idea is to focus on one thing and for a limited period of time write about one specific thing. So the first step, right, if you take an object, imagine or look at it, and then you need to write about it using only your 5 senses, plus feeling and movement. So you put one object into these 7 different perspectives, and you write your associations and your associations and thoughts regarding that object in terms of specific 7 feelings, senses, right? We will take a look at them in the next slide. And important is to do it in short bursts, and we are presented with either 90 seconds, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. So you can do it in this limited period of time. In this way, you don't have a lot of time to stop and think about things. You simply write down everything that comes to your mind. On the next slide, we have these 7 perspectives, and under which we need to take a look at the object. So, simple. You see here touch, taste, smell, and these are our 5 senses, basic human senses, plus additional 2 describe the object in terms of movement and in terms of what it makes you feel. So yeah, if we, for instance, we're writing about an orange or a banana or anything, right, first you can describe what you see, what kind of sounds this object makes. So if you touch it, how do you feel it in your hand, right? If you taste it, what is the taste of an object, right? If it's an edible or not. That doesn't even matter if it's necessarily you can eat it or not, right? You can still imagine what's the taste is. You kind of, in this case, you can see that you put yourself into this task. You need to describe something that doesn't necessarily have these qualities, and this helps you to get something creative out of yourself, right? So you don't have much time, you have limited time, you have this, weird thing. For instance, if you write about a rock, how does a rock taste? I don't know. Has anybody ever tried to eat a rock or so? But you're limited. You need to come up with something, and it will come out, right? If it's a good idea or not a good idea, you can think about it later when you're done. But at that specific moment, you need to come up with something. Object writing is also not a task that you would do to get a mark, so there's no right or wrong answers. It is just a task that gets you writing. And this is the most important part here at this point where we are at right now as writers. We just need to start writing, get comfortable with writing and get into it. So that's why don't worry if you get some strange ideas out or something silly. You don't need to show it to anybody, right? Nobody's going to judge you or anything like that. Unless you want to get feedback, you can show it to someone, but you don't need to do that. That's why think of this task as simply get your creative and writing juices flowing, work on your writing muscle. In Ortus, I will add an example. I already added this handout from the book where this, but yeah, there's a chapter from the book on which the presentation is based. So in that book you can see that there's an example of object writing. Right, so some steps. So you take a stopwatch to measure time. You can also, on top of your paper, you can write these perspectives. I call them perspectives, so under which we kind of look at the object. Then, begin spontaneously, write down whatever comes to your mind. You don't need to stay completely focused. So yeah, don't worry if you're going to a completely different direction. It can be good, right? You can start from one thing and then all of a sudden you feel that you want to write about something else, and you kind of, through this exercise, you find a topic, right? Where do you feel interested in going to? Don't worry if you write full sentences or not. You do not need to be grammatically correct at this point. Doesn't matter. As I said, it's not a task. When somebody judges you, just like you practice writing, going forward with it. Maybe think about it as if you were learning how to dance or something like that. You're kind of learning a specific skill. The only way how you can improve in that skill is, through practice, through repetitively doing this task. So this is kind of the same idea. Just write, and the object writing gives you a direction in which you can go. And it has strict kind of limitations, which makes it an exercise you could practice daily. So yeah, keep your hand moving across the page, don't stop to cross out words. So no, you don't need to edit anything at this point when you write. After you're done, you can edit, but you don't need to do anything right now while you write. Okay, so yeah, you had this first exercise. Hope you did it. So, and when you're done, we have some ideas here what we can look for, in our writing. And this is pretty interesting, right? So one thing is that you just write, but then you can work further and analyze what you have written. And here we have some ideas that we could use for that. So basically, you can analyze your work from two perspectives. Either you have more left brain traits or you have more right brain traits. So you know that our brain is divided into two parts. Sort of left side is more logical and is responsible for order and facts and all that, whereas right side is more creative and wild, kind of. Sort of to become a better writer, it is good for you to be capable of mixing these two and be able to work and write in both of these, kind of use both, as also in the material they describe whole brain writing. So you can mix those. You can, it's easy for you to work with facts if you need to, or you can work with ideas. And here we have some examples. If you read the materials, you have seen those, right? So for instance, an example of a fact, right? So you simply write, so the peach is pink inside. It's a fact, but an idea would be the peach is the color of a ballet slippers. So basically nobody can, it's subjective. You can't say that is it or not the color of ballet slippers. Kind of arguable thing. In that means it's an idea. It's kind of an idea or an opinion of somebody rather than a strict fact. What you need to do when you read your writing, just try to see whether you have more of right brain. If you have more right brain traits, like you have more ideas, or you describe feeling, or you are spontaneous, try next time when you do object writing, try to focus and produce more left brain traits, right? So if you are more tended to one side or to another, try to do the opposite. In that way, you can create, you can become like a more versatile writer and kind of be comfortable to be in both sides, right? Because, for instance, in the university, if you'll have to write essays or produce term papers, these are more based on left brain traits, right? You can't just write ideas there. You need to have facts, for example, and so on. So in the book and here I have the same examples pretty much of left traits and right traits. But when you analyze your writing, try to find which ones do you have more, and in next time try to do the opposite, so you can have a whole brain experience and this whole brain writing style. So here you can try to follow this object writing workout. In the book they say 90 days, and maybe you have seen, if you scroll through the material, you have seen that there's even a list of 90 words that you can use every day. You obviously can use your own words, but you can follow the ones that they give there. And so yeah, also it's a good thing not only sort of analyze your ideas, right, but also think about, look for something interesting that you can potentially use later, or you maybe didn't expect to say. So when you're done writing, look for your favorite phrases, words, or images, right? Underline them. It's just maybe they came out and you didn't expect them to come out. Some other advice is to not write in a rush or in a noisy, hectic place. Right? Try to be calm in a calm place. Yeah. So also that it is so quick and doesn't take a lot of time. So you can say that you don't have time to do that in a way, but it'll be up to you to do this or not. Okay, and then we have one creative method on how to make metaphors, and this is pretty interesting. So we know that we talked about how last time we mentioned metaphors, right? We talked about them a little bit, that authors use those to make texts more colorful and to make ideas jump off the page and get readers excited and interested. So in this material, we're offered a simple technique on how we can produce our own metaphors, which I think is pretty easy and at the same time can significantly improve your writing. So again, we start with an object. We take an object and ask two questions about the object. So what qualities does my object have? So you kind of make a list of qualities your object has, and then after that look at these qualities and make another list of other objects that have the same qualities. To illustrate this, take a look at this table here. So the object they took was sunrise. They wrote the qualities that sunrise has, that sunrise possesses, right? So it's bright, slow, soft, orange, glowing, yellow, energizing, early. Just whatever comes to your mind, whatever qualities come to your mind, you can write them down here in the qualities of your object. And after that, what else, right? You can write down what else has these qualities. So again, other objects that possess these qualities. In this way, you can create metaphors where you sort of, when you compare your object with these other objects and find through these similarities, similar qualities. And what did they come up with here? The sunrise was a snail gliding upwards into the sky. So, right, they found the object was sunrise, another object was snail, and both snail and sunrise possessed the quality of being slow, and that was the point at which the author compared those two, creating an interesting image, right? That the sunrise was like a snail. You see, it's very interesting. Like everyone is also in the material they mentioned it, but everyone is different. Everyone has different images in their heads. So these metaphors will never be the same, right? You will never. It's probably really rare when, if you complete this task, two people will come up with, the same image, the same metaphor. This means that by using a technique like that, by creating your own metaphors, you can make your texts original, right? And original and interesting. So you can create your own voice. Another example was object was the computer. Qualities: gray, black, plastic, metal, square, technological, artificial, intelligent, complicated, useful, necessary, tiring. And what else has these qualities? Box, scientist, genius, women, child, robot. And what did they write? The computer was a cunning child, demanding constant attention. Okay, so computer and a child in common, I guess, tiring. Yeah, so a child can be tiring, and a computer can also be tiring. Computer asks for attention, child asks for attention. Can compare computer to a child. a great comparison, a great metaphor is made, right? So I don't know, probably if you would even see this table, you would find some other ideas to compare it to, right? So the typical one is that we compare technology to boxes, right? This is like often, I think, used or heard, right? So computer was like a gray box or something, but still, it is a metaphor, and it can be, right? The more qualities you can come up with, the more different qualities you can come up with, the more other objects you can come up with, and then the more interesting your metaphors can be, the more interesting your text can be, the more creative or of a writer you are, the more people want to read your stuff or are interested in reading a certain piece. This can be also helpful in translating. So sometimes comparisons and metaphors in original texts maybe don't make any sense, in the translation. You will see examples of this in the future when you translate more and more. So sometimes we have to come up with our own interesting original wording as translators as well. And techniques like these can be helpful in that. So yeah, make your own metaphors. This is the exercise that I want you to do, that I want you to try. Let's say, like we had two examples, right, of metaphors. I want you to try to come up with three. Try to make three tables of right, using this technique. Create a metaphor table, make three tables, and show them to me. Upload your results. Regarding object writing, it is an exercise that only if you want to share with someone you should do that, but it's not necessary, it's not so important. You can do it on your own, and it's also up to you. I can't check whether you do it, right, if you don't need to submit it, but if you want to improve and become better writers, get more into writing, I suggest you go for it and try to do it as many days as you can. And for home task, the metaphor table will be the task, okay? So yeah, all of these, two of these exercises, object writing and making metaphors, can help you create your own writing voice. Right, it means when you use your senses, you tap into your unique powers of writing. This helps you to create the voice that other people might recognize when they read a piece, right? When they read an article or text, they can say, "Oh, that's that person. I can see that person's personality in this text," and so on. Of course, we're not here to become writers. This is not like strictly a writing school, but as I already mentioned in the very beginning, translators work in close relations with text, so you need to make this part of your life, kind of. Texts are things that you focus on. Texts are things that you work with or will work on the daily basis. That's why developing this interest in how texts are organized, making your own texts, can significantly aid you in becoming better translators in the future. Okay, I'll leave some other instructions in Ortus. Thank you very much for tuning in. See you next week. Hopefully I'll be in class. Bye for now.